This is TWiT.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch the both the EU and the FTC and the states all going after big tech, and really to some degree, at least in the Section 230 case, we little tech guys are just collateral damage.
Caught.
Yeah. Which particular anti-Google measure were you thinking about? Oh, Stacey's just getting back.
Sorry. Boiling water for tea.
Oh, yeah.
Had to get that caffeine infusion.
Hot water.
I know. Well, he said it was a long ad. Okay.
Yeah, it was going to be. You're right,
was-
Stacey.
Did I say it was long? I didn't.
Yeah, you said it was going to
the
be.
beginning of the show. I think it was a long TWiT social ad. My bad.
Oh, that's coming later. I'll do that later.
Yes. This is...
So what is...
I'm sorry.
Google seems to be... I have to say, on the one hand, I think we'd absolutely have to regulate any big companies. Forget tech. Big companies need to be regulated. Otherwise, you get an uneven playing field. And for the fair market to work, the playing field has to be equal. Everybody has to be able to innovate, compete fairly and equally. And when companies get big, they tend to take advantage of their size to basically unlevel the playing field. So this is part of antitrust is, in my opinion, very important to having a free market society. If you're going to have capitalism, you also have to have this kind of regulation. But at the same time, because it's not just the U.S., it's all these other jurisdictions, I feel like it must be really hard these days to be a big company.
Yeah, well, this is the one I know I was talking about was the action on Tuesday, which is the Justice Department in the 8 states. And this is what Jeff and I talk about all the time with Google, which is where it actually does have a monopoly and it can abuse it, which is in online advertising.
Yes.
So,
In fact, they want Google to sell off. Was it DoubleClick? The ad.
DoubleClick?
Yeah, the ad.
Well, the problem is that Google,
That's
I've always,
still around?
Stacey and I agree on this. I've always said that Google's vulnerable because where it holds a near monopoly is advertising, and it runs both ends of the marketplace, the buy and the sell side.
Yeah.
And that's what really it makes great efficiency, but that's the problem.
Yeah. This is the
I don't know
second.
if they sold one side or the other. Would that be enough? I don't know.
This is the second ongoing antitrust suit against Google. This is against Google's online ad dominance. And yeah, one of the things they want to do is have Google sell off its ad business. Remember, Google acquired DoubleClick. Gosh, was it 2015? It was a long time ago. That gave it really a complete dominance in the online ad market, both as a buyer and a seller. Of course, the Senate tried to pass and failed the American Innovation and Choice Online Act. Google was fined in France, agreed to a $391 million settlement with state's attorney general for location tracking. I mean, this has gone on and on.
DoubleClick was in 2007.
Wow.
Yeah, that's when Richard was hired by Google. So we're talking what, 16 years?
Yeah,
Or the
and
guy
yet,
who was on the
yet
shore.
they I mean, I guess even if something's been part of your company since 2007, you could spin it off. I'm actually kind of sympathetic to this. I think Google is self-dealing because they're both selling the ads and buying the ads.
And not transparent enough.
And complete, yeah. The Justice Department says Google punishes websites that dare to use competing ad tech products and uses its dominance in ad technology to funnel more transactions to its own ad tech products, where it extracts inflated fees to line its own pockets at the expense of advertisers and publishers. So they're screwing every both the buyers, the sellers, everybody. I think there's some merit to this.
There's
Oh, there's
there are
tons of
competitors.
merit.
There's
It's-
AppNexus actually started this business.
Right.
But then Google buying, what did you say, Stacey? 2007 they bought DoubleClick?
Yes, for $3.1 billion.
Oh, what a buy.
Yeah.
What a deal.
So the government also alleges that Google has, quote, corrupted legitimate competition in the ad tech industry by seizing control of online advertising systems and inserting itself into all aspects of the digital advertising marketplace by eliminating competition through acquisitions and exploiting its dominance to push advertisers to use its products over those of others. Google is the defendant, not any individuals. It also calls for Google to sell part of its ad tech business, which I'm perhaps
Also part of. I think part of is right to do that.
Yeah.
I actually think that's correct.
Yeah.
Listen to me. I'm saying this about Google and about regulation.
So this is the U.S.
The whole
the state
shopping
of,
thing in Europe made no sense about antitrust.
right.
This is the antitrust case.
This is the strongest one, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
This is the DOJ along with the states of Virginia, California, Colorado, Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York, and Rhode Island and Tennessee. So that pretty much covers 90% of the states, the big population states.
And I guess the concern is because they can't show harm to consumers, which has been our standard of antitrust action, that this will have a hard time. But it's also the FTC and the DOJ have been really forward about being like, we must rethink how we deal with antitrust. So,
Stacey, I think it's different in this case. Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, no, I was going to say, so it's really important. I think this will be a really important case to talk about, like, that whole strategy. Do you think it harms consumers?
Well, no, see, that's where I think it's different in this case, Stacey. I think there's I saw something today, and maybe it was Casey Newton, I can't remember who said it, is that the consumer in this case is not you and me, Jane and Jeff Shopper. The consumer is the advertiser, the media company, the customer. So if the customer gets hurt, and I think that that's why they have a decent case here to say that in this marketplace, there is insufficient competition. That's the essence of antitrust, and the customer is hurt. So I think it actually holds to the old doctrine.
It may. I think the argument that I've seen some lawyers take is that over time, we have focused on the consumer as the consumer as opposed to the customer.
Yes.
So I think it's, I mean, I don't disagree with you. It's totally true that the customer here gets hurt. But yeah, we haven't. Which is different from as much about that.
Too big, which is more Europe. It's just too big. We don't like big. And then it's impossible to define. In this case, if you can define a harm to a party, then you got something.
Yeah.
They're asking for a jury trial. So I think this is going to go up against a bunch of normal people. Here's the thing. I think the clearest statement of the problem from the actual pleading, Google, DOJ versus Google. Google, a single company with pervasive conflicts of interest, now controls, one, the technology used by nearly every major website publisher to offer advertising space for sale, correct? Yes, right? There are competitors, as you said, Jeff, but Google's totally dominant in that. Two, the leading tools used by advertisers, the buyers, to buy that advertising space.
Google.
And three, the largest ad exchange that matches publishers with advertisers each time ad space is sold. Google's pervasive power over the entire ad tech industry, it owns the whole thing, has been questioned by its own digital advertising executives. We've read this email. It was a smoking gun email from within Google. Quote, is there a deeper issue with us? This is back when they were thinking of buying DoubleClick, I think. Is there a deeper issue with us owning the platform, the exchange, and a huge network? The analogy would be if Goldman or Citibank owned the New York Stock Exchange and Robinhood.
So devil's advocate here for a second.
Yeah.
Just devil's advocate to play Leo for a moment.
Please.
I think one of Google's arguments might be that because that auction is going on from the moment you open up the browser page until the ad is served in those milliseconds, that the inefficiency of a truly distributed marketplace and trading floor, in essence, might itself hurt media because it would lower the price for the advertising, or would lower the value of the advertising because fewer would be able to make it through. I don't know that I believe that. I think you can create a network that works, but they're going to argue probably that by bringing this efficiency to that exchange, they created more value.
Okay, but as the DOJ points out, they create this friction-free, wonderful system and keep 30 cents on the dollar. Google, this is from the DOJ pleading again, they keep 30 cents and sometimes far more of every advertising dollar flowing from advertisers to website publishers through their ad tech tools. Google's own internal documents concede Google were far less in a competitive market. 30 cents on the dollar. That's a nice little
Apple's
business
magic
there.
number.
Yeah. Yeah, 30%. So
That's just like the App Store.
I think, honestly, the DOJ wins this, hands down. The only question is, how long is it going to take?
What's the remedy?
And what's the remedy? Yeah.
Yeah.
They apparently want them to sell off DoubleClick.
Well, I think they should sell off one side or the other.
There you go. That's what I think, too. They have to pick a side. They can't own the whole
That's what I think is the issue here.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing here is, and I because back when they bought DoubleClick, I think their ad revenue was 98% of revenue for the company. That's now down to 80%. They have diversified a lot. Well, it's not because the ad revenue has gone down. It's because they have diversified through hosting and other things, which is really interesting to see how Google has changed as a company too.
I'm not a lawyer, but if you read this complaint, it is, I think, pretty compelling. And the DOJ has lots of evidence, including, emails that
they just listened to Stacey and me. They would have done this years ago, right?
Yeah.
Stacey?
Yeah. We're totally qualified, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
This to me is exactly how antitrust should work, frankly. This is where a government should step in and say, yeah, no, you can't, you gotta divest. You can't
no, that is exactly what government do.
Yeah, no. In a colloquial fashion. Yeah, no.
But 8 years ago, the tech companies were a lot more popular. Now it's a perfect time to do it politically because everybody's going after the big tech companies because they're too big.
Right.
There's still going to be stupidity in this.
Business Journal says the feds are saying Google has to be broken up. I think that's not quite what they're saying. They're saying you have to stop double dealing. Divest. Yeah, I don't think that's breaking them up. But they do say, I think this is completely legit. I have to say, you're going to have to talk me out of the merits of this case.
I'm not going to.
Yeah, this seems completely legit.
I'll call Google's lawyers.
We've talked about this for years, about this kind of double dealing situation.
Well, and two, it's a case where if you're going to talk about monopoly situations, again, monopolies are not illegal. If you earn your monopoly, you can have it, right? But in this case, they're vulnerable because their control percentage of the ad market is so tremendous. Everybody concentrated on how much they control the search. Who cares?
Right.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands-On Photography here on TWiT TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.